Awesome people, inspiring stories, the Living the Dream podcast. Welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast. I am Matt Scaletti. I have with me Nate Wray, and I'm so excited. Wait till you hear how we met. I can't wait to tell you. He is the prevention coordinator at the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition. He's a pastor at the Lakeview Baptist Church. He is also the chairman of the Roane County Health Council. He is a new farmer, and according to Nate, his most important job, and I would agree, is being a husband and a father. Welcome from Tennessee, Nate in the house.
Matt Scaletti. How are you, buddy?
I'm amazing, and I'm so excited. I can't even wait any longer. I got to start out by telling the story of, for those of you that are watching on YouTube on a video, I'm wearing this shirt that Nate provided me, and it says, for those listening, it says more Scaletti, less spaghetti. And you can chime in, Nate, but this guy is just become a great friend of mine. A year ago, I came down to Tennessee and spoke to like 37 schools in one day, and Nate's just kept wearing me down speaking. But he showed up. Well, you tell the story. It's amazing. I didn't know this shirt was coming.
So this is a story that like Gary Vee would be very proud of, because it all happened through social media. So we were posting a lot on our Instagram, what the kids were doing and what we were doing with the kids, and at the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition, and you reached out one day through IG Messenger, and you were like, "Hey, I love what you're doing. We should talk, like the direction that your organization is going. Here's my number." And I mean, so I was like, who is this guy? Like, I want to know more about who this guy is. And so I start doing some research, and I go out, and I don't know if you met Gina while you were here. I know you met Ashley, but I went out into the office, and I said, guys, this guy just like sent us an Instagram message. He was an American Ninja Warrior. And they're like, what? Let me look him up. So they look you up, and they're like, oh gosh, yeah, like we should get him. Like we should get him to talk. And I'll tell you, we had just been through like 5 other people who had been like, yeah, I'll come speak to your kids and to your schools. And then when we got done and down to the brass tacks, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, it'll be like $25,000 plus you have to pay for my travel, even though I live like 9 miles away. And we were like, what? No, and so we're always consistently looking for someone to come and speak at assemblies. And when you said, hey, if you'll just pay my travel, I'd be happy to come, it was like, yeah, I mean, that was one of the most humble and best offers we had received from anybody. There was a lady that lived maybe 15 miles down the road, and she wanted 10 grand plus travel. And we were like, come on, like I'm not a certified public speaker, but I'll do it for like $4 and a hamburger. I mean,
You know what? I'm still waiting on my check. Is that still coming, or what's the?
Yeah. Matt, I've told you 1,000 times, it's in the mail. I'm not the post office.
You know what? When I sent you an Instagram message, I had no idea where that was going. It just seemed like you had a really cool thing going, and I did not expect to be on a plane flying down there like 6 months later. But that was, I will still say this to anybody, that was one of the greatest full days of my entire life. It was just, I hope the kids were inspired, but it was inspiring to me to be there. So, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about you. So I'm flipping this thing around. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You chauffeured me around the whole day, and it was a blast.
Kids were completely inspired. And I'll tell you this short little story. So we do a club in the schools. It's called Positive Peer Pressure Club. And it's about making good choices and being encouraging and anti-bullying and learning how to say no, not just to say no, but how to say no. And so we go and do the P3 club at Midway Elementary School, which is like 6 to 7 months after you came to speak. And one of the kids walks in and he goes, I remember you guys. You brought the American Ninja Warrior guy here. And I said, yeah. I said, tell me one thing that he said, and he said, never give up. That was one of the things that he said, and I was like, dude, you are 100% right, and I hope you're living by that. And he was like, heck yeah, I mean, you really did make a difference while you were here, and I'll tell you, that's what the coalition is about, Matt. It's about impacting the lives of these kids, because we're a small rural community, but we're facing the same type of stuff that the rest of the nation is facing: opioid crisis, methamphetamine crisis, single parent homes, absent fathers, and kids living with grandparents. We're facing all of that stuff. But when you have bigger cities, there's more programs, there's more things for kids to be a part of, there's more nonprofits to say, well, okay, I'll go to the Boys and Girls Club at 3, and then I'll go over to the work program at 5, and then, but here it's just, there's only a handful of things going on. And so for us to bring those into the schools and say, we're going to inspire you, we're going to teach you, we're going to care for you, we're going to love you, we're going to do whatever we can do to help you and make sure that you don't fall down the same path that everybody else is falling down in this county, then that's what we're going to do. So
I love it. And you set it up perfectly. We want to get into the Anti-Drug Coalition. Tell us, because clearly you're a part of that now, and you've been a part of it for how long has it been?
It'll be 3 years in August. Next month, it'll be 3 years. Yeah.
So what's the story? How does Nate get to be a part of that organization? What's the background?
Man, I'm going to back all the way up to high school, right? Sure. So I didn't fit in high school, and I desperately wanted to fit in to whatever. It didn't matter. And so I played sports and I tried to fit in there, but I really didn't fit in with the guys, with their attitudes and their likes and dislikes. And so I would hang out with what would be considered the nerds, and I didn't fit in with the nerds. And then I'd hang out with the dirt bikers, and I didn't fit in with them. And even with like the stoners, I'd hang out with the stoners and didn't fit in with them. And I desperately wanted to fit in so badly. And so as I go through high school, I don't fit in anywhere. And I'm just this kid that I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I'm compatible with anybody. And man, Matt, I was so mad and so angry about all of that. Like just one day, like I'd come to school and be like, what are you looking at? And I'd try to be that guy too. And I didn't fit in with that either. And so my senior year of high school, I'm working at this gas station, and my principal walks in, and he's and I'll get through this story because I don't want to make him sound like a bad guy, because what I'm about to say is going to make him sound like a bad guy. But he walks in and he says, he goes, "This is the last place you're ever going to work. This is where you'll be." I was working at a gas station. This is the rest of your life. Basically, that's what he's saying. This is where you're going to, because of the way that you've behaved in school, that was all that he could see for me. And I walked out of that job that day and said, no way. And so I went and found another job. I was delivering furniture. And so I refused to say, okay, you're right. So my entire life became about proving him wrong. Mm-hmm. Right. So I would work and get a promotion, and I'd work and get a promotion. So I end up in Tennessee, working for an airlines, and I worked there for 5 years, and I decided I'm going to start my own business. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a marketing plan. I didn't have anything. And I left my job and took all of my savings and threw it into this business, and it failed. It tanked. And so
what was the business?
It was putting, at the time there was this big housing boom, right? So it was putting together the big play sets, the big ships and different playhouses for people. And we got a couple of jobs, but we didn't have any type of advertising. We didn't have any type of networking. We were just going by the seat of our pants, and it failed miserably. And so we ended up packing everything up. I took a job in Arizona. We packed everything up and we went out to Arizona and worked there. And then the market crashed. That was back in like 2008, 2000. And then in 2009, we moved back to Tennessee. No job. We just came back here and lived with my wife's dad in his like garage / basement. You know, and we've got 4 kids and we're poor. You know, we've got no money. And so I start working again in retail. And so I get a job as a assistant manager at a retail store. And then within like 6 months, they say, you're going to take your own store. You're going to Knoxville. So I go to Knoxville, bring the whole family to Knoxville. We're still poor. The job just pays more. And where we were living was a little bit more cost friendly than the bigger cities. So, and that's right here in Roane County. So I take this job and we're living in this apartment and this lady comes in and she's like, you know, I want to recruit you for Sears. I think you'd be great at Sears. And so I'm like, yeah, great. That's a big name brand. And so I go to Sears, and a year at Sears, they're like, hey, we're closing all the stores are closed. And I'm like, oh no, like, what are we going to do? So I take a sales management job. And so all these things are happening. So, but at Sears, here's where I want to get at Sears. I have a manager who tells me, you've got a great speaking voice. That's all he said. I had to hold a meeting one day and he's like, you've got a great speaking voice. That was the first time that anybody had ever told me that I had a natural talent. That was the first time. Every other talent that I thought I had to work really hard for, you know? And so, so that was the first time that anybody ever told me I had a natural talent. And so it started to get in my head, maybe I should be doing that more. And so when I went to go work as a sales manager, the company put me into this networking group. And this networking group was every day you give a 1-minute elevator speech, and then every now and then you'll be picked to give a 30-minute speech about your product. And so when it was my time for 30 minutes, we did this product demo for the whole networking group, 40-50 people. We sold 40 or 50 units that day. And so I kept thinking, maybe I should be speaking. And then I started thinking about, well, what's my story? Like, how do I communicate that? And so we were at this church, and a friend of mine said, hey, can you do youth group tonight? And I was like, sure, I'll do youth group. And so I didn't know what I was doing. So I just got up and I just told my story to the kids. And then when I was done, I mean, they stayed after for 45 minutes to an hour to talk and say, can you follow up on this? Can you follow up on that? So through different interactions in life, I ended up meeting a really wonderful lady. And she said, there's a job opening, and it's at the Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition. And this is what you do. You work with kids, you go into schools and you speak. And I was like, that's the job that I'm supposed to have. So going back to my high school principal, my entire life goal was to prove him wrong, right? What I learned about 5 years ago was that I've spent my entire life trying to prove myself wrong, because I did believe what he said. I did take it seriously. And so I spent my entire life trying to prove myself wrong because I didn't believe in myself. And that flipped for me. It wasn't about proving anybody wrong anymore. It was just about inspiring the next generation so that they don't have to live like that, so that they don't have to feel like they have to prove anybody wrong. So that is kind of how we get to the coalition.
I mean, what a powerful story, though. I didn't know all that story. I'm getting like so many nuggets out of this story, which one of them I can't help but think is, be careful what you say to people. I mean, it could be a great thing or a bad thing. So, I mean, I know what you guys are doing. It's clearly a positive message. And, one of those kids hear one sentence or one story at the right time, boom. I mean, that could change. You never know. That could change everything.
Yeah.
power of the spoken word is huge.
The tongue is, I mean, it can be great or it can be evil, and even sometimes when it's used for negative, it can be turned into something great as well. So
That's true.
you know, if you tell the wrong person, I don't believe in you, and they believe in themselves more than anything, you're going to be wrong.
Yes,
Even though you said that negative thing, you're going to be wrong,
you're
because it
right.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. It
That's
doesn't
right.
matter. If I believe in me and you don't, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
no skin off my back, you know?
I was
So
wondering, as you're telling the story, and I think that's a great point. I was wondering, is there any chance the principal said that to you to light a fire under you, and just, you know how like some coaches use that to get the people inspired, and I didn't know if he was, maybe he wasn't, but I didn't know how you were taking it.
the reverse psychology, and I
Yeah.
said this, I said this in a to a group of kids when I told them this story. I said, if he's not alive today, I said, but if he was alive today, I would shake his hand and I would say thank you. And it, however he meant it, it doesn't matter now.
Right.
But now I'm thankful that he said that. I'm very thankful, and I would shake his hand and say thank you. It
I
made
think
all the difference in my life.
it's
Yeah,
true. It sounds like it did. Okay, so
yeah,
you perfect background into what you're doing now. Tell us a
yeah.
little bit about what you do now and what the Anti-Drug Coalition does, because it's inspiring. It's just awesome.
Yeah, so our organization was started back in 2002, 2003, by a group of parents that had lost their kids to overdose. And so what the coalition did was it brought the community together. It brought different community organizations together, government, community leaders, just regular people in the community wanting to make a difference. And they all came together with a purpose to reduce um, the overdoses in our county, to keep youth from trying, experimenting, abusing any type of substance, whether it was illicit drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, and to really engage the community as an organization, and say, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how we're doing it. So one of the ways that before me, they came up with was, we're going to go into the schools and we're going to start this um, positive peer pressure club.
Hmm.
And so they did that, and they had middle schools, and some high schools, is what I've been told. And so every middle school had a positive peer pressure club, and I think one or two high schools did as well. So we came in, when I came in 3 years ago. um, I looked at the middle schools, and I went to every counselor at the middle school, and I said, what's good about P3 Club? What do you not like about P3 Club? What can we do better with P3 Club? Um, and so I took all that information from all of those counselors and came back and made a plan. And so we made the plan. We were going to not only do P3 Club, but we were going to implement assemblies, and we were going to be available for students at the Boys and Girls Club. And that was really the main plan. That's blown up since then. It's kind of crazy what we're doing now, but so we did that first by, okay, we're going to be at the middle schools, and then we're going to take this model, we're going to adjust it a little bit, and we're going to open it up to high schools and elementary schools. And so right now we have 5 middle schools, we have 2 elementary schools, and we have 1 high school that's doing P3 Club. So do you want me to tell you a story about Rockwood High School? Can I
Sure.
tell you that story really quick?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
so Rockwood High School, we've got a really great relationship with Rockwood Middle, and Rockwood High School, we went and said, can we do a P3 club here at the school? We asked the principal, and he's like, yeah, sure, but here's the thing, you've got lunch period, you've got lunch period, and that's how you're going to have to do it. So we'll try to get students to get their lunch, and then they can bring their lunch to the library, which is right across the hall, and then you can have P3 club there. So we do that for about 3 months, and it's just not working. And we're losing students and losing interest and and you're kind of like losing hope in this. You're like, how do we get around this? How do we, make this successful? And so we decide that we're going to do this differently. We're not going to have the cafeteria come to us. We're going to go to the cafeteria. So what we do is we take this table and we make all these quiz cards, and we get people in the community to donate gift cards. And so we take these quiz cards in, and we're like, if you get 5 questions right, you win this. If you get 3 questions right, you get this. If you get 1 question right, you get this. And if you don't get any questions right, at least you got to play. We're going to give you a high five, and you can come back next time and try again. So I've never seen kids eat this fast. I mean, the first time we did it, we had one Sonic gift card winner. That was our big prize, was the Sonic gift cards. And so he won, and he was like, "Hey, y'all, I'm going to Sonic after school." And they're like, how'd you win? And so then all of a sudden, all these students started coming to our table, and the kids that we had no interaction with, that never wanted to come to P3 Club in the first place, all of a sudden we're like, "Hey, what's this table about? What do you guys got going on?" So we learn as we go, and we adjust as we need to. But when we're faced with a challenge, we don't look at it as, well, there's the wall and there's no way around it, under it, over it, or through it. We look at it as, it can only be so high. That wall can only be so high.
I got to stop you for a second, because I love this. And I think as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, what are some of the nuggets here? And one of them is clearly the questions that you asked yourself. I mean, you could have easily asked yourself in your group, why is this not working? That's not going to help you get the answer. But you said it. You said you asked, what do we need to do to make this successful? And when you ask those empowering questions, it's so obvious that it worked. I mean, you probably had a bunch of ideas, but that one is working great.
Yeah. And that was mainly Ashley's idea. Ashley came and said, "What if we did this?" And I was like, "That's beautiful. I think that's going to work great." And so we went and did it. And that's what I wish Ashley could have joined me. Maybe we can do me and Ashley one day, but
Ashley's awesome.
But me and Ashley, we work so well together that I can go to her and say, "I think this is going to work," and she'll go, "Let's try it." And it's not a, "Well, I don't think so. There's no discouragement. It's, let's give it a shot. Let's see if it does. And if it don't, let's get back to the drawing table and make something work. So that's what I love about our work partnership.
I mean, it was obvious to me how well you all get along there, especially Ashley, who, by the way, sidebar, scared the crap out of me while I was walking out of the bathroom. This is a thing that they have down there. If you ever visit Roane County, make sure you don't get scared, because they scare each other when you're not expecting it. And it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I still laugh about that day, because you got me good.
It keeps us on our toes, for sure. It does.
But in all honesty, I'm thinking, clearly it's a serious job that you have. I mean, you're trying to help kids out. Maybe they're already on the wrong path. Maybe they're not, but you want to make sure they don't go on the wrong path. But how important is, in light of what we're talking about, how important is humor to the workplace, especially if it's a serious topic? I mean, does that humor help?
Yeah. Prevention, we work prevention. We don't work recovery. We don't work any of that. We work prevention. We have resources to recovery. We can help you find help, but our main focus is prevention. Now, when you do prevention, you hear a lot of stories from kids that are struggling. We went to a middle school during Christmas and said, "Let's make Christmas cards for the inmates." One student said, "Oh, good, I can write my dad." And so you think, gosh, man, you don't think about that when you speak. The other day, we're doing the summer food program for students this year, which is they come to our site at an apartment complex and they pick up food for the week and the weekend. And so one little girl was there. She was maybe 4 years old. She's by herself. And we said, "Can your mom and dad come help?" And she said, "I don't have a mom and a dad." And it's like, so humor is so important because it keeps us fresh. It keeps us our spirits up, and it really drives us to, when we're in a bad mood or having a bad day, it really drives us to be like, you know what, we might be having a bad day, but let's go ahead and look around us. Let's look and see what we have and what we're thankful for. Let's tell some jokes,
Hmm.
and let's move on, because these kids are struggling, and the last thing you want to do is for a kid to come up to you and go, why do you look so sad, or why do you look so mad, or so you want to be in good spirits, and that humor really really helps.
I'm sure it does. I think that's a perfect way to explain it. And so now you're bringing up some of the kids. I have to ask, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but is there a story you can remember of a kid that you helped out and you had a positive impact on?
I'll tell you a story of an indirect positive
Yeah.
impact, but it's so through the coalition, we set up these assemblies, and we had a guy from Knoxville come and speak about his life growing up, and had an alcoholic dad, and so he got into alcohol and some other drugs, and so he just told a story to the assembly, and where we're at is it's more one of the more heavily meth populated areas, um and so before the assembly started, we were talking, and he said, I've never really done this before, so I hope it makes a difference. And I said, if it's just one kid, it's going to make a difference. So we do the assembly, and we know pretty much all the kids there. We're just having a good time with them, and then we bring him out, and he tells a story. And afterwards, they start sending all the kids back to class. One stays behind. He's a sixth grader, and he comes up to the guy that spoke, and said, "I have a meth addiction, and I need help. Can you get me help?" And he said, "Absolutely, absolutely, we can get you help." And so through that student is thriving today,
Wow.
doing fantastic. I think uh, he'll be a freshman this year in high school, and even though he missed some school to go through recovery, he was able to keep up with schoolwork and continue on the path that he's on. And so just through that assembly, and our whole goal was one. If it helps one,
Hmm.
then we've made a difference.
Oh, that's
So
powerful
that's,
right there.
yeah, yeah,
That's the best story ever. And I can't help but think, I mean, you know this, I was basically an alcoholic for 10 years, and,
yeah,
and I kept telling myself, I'm alone. Like, I'm alone in this, which I didn't realize. I should have just said something like this kid did, and you get help. Like, there are people like you, people like just amazing people in the world that want to help people
yeah,
like me or this child. And I didn't have the guts to say it. So
yeah,
I think kudos to him for reaching out, and kudos to you guys for putting him in front of the right people. That's awesome.
yeah. Matt, you say, I should have said something like that kid did, but the reality of it is the stigma that's out there today is, if you are addicted to something, you're weak,
Mhm.
you're a loser, there's no hope for you, there's no chance for you. You're better off dead, is what the stigma is
Yeah.
today. And we tell people all the time when they come to us and they're like, why are you, we do Narcan classes at the coalition, and they're like, why, you're just enabling people. And we always say, you can't get a dead person into recovery. You can't. But
Yeah.
I can get someone who's alive into recovery. And if it takes the Narcan to keep them alive so that someday they they realize they're at rock bottom and they need recovery, then that's what we're going to do. And there's just too much. There's just I'll just say it, there's just too much division, and there's too much negative today. And if there was more positive and more, listen, I love you because you're a person, you're a human being. You're a human being, and that's why I love you. Not because you go to the same school, not because you live in the same town, not because you look the same as me, but you're a human being. And if we can get past all this other stuff and say life is precious, then we would take it more seriously, and more people would be willing to speak up and say, I need help.
You said that perfectly. I totally agree with everything you said. And really, Nate, that's part of why, a big reason why I'm doing this podcast is because I was running my mouth for 40 episodes by myself, but I want to make positivity louder. I want to make it really loud. And I think stories like yours help with that. So kudos to you guys for pushing the positive message out there. And I think you're clearly impacting so many kids. And let me ask, so what's next with the Anti-Drug Coalition? Is there something, clearly we're in the middle of this difficult time that's going on. Is there a plan currently? Are you planning for when assemblies start again, or what's on the horizon?
We always, so one of my favorite stories in the Bible, Matt, is the farmer in the drought who plans for the rain. So he continues to plant his field, because he knows the rain will eventually come. It's coming. And he just has hope for that, right? So that's us in COVID-19. So we, ooh, you getting a phone call?
No, we're good.
That's kind of the coalition at this point. We're planning, and we're expecting to move forward and have. Now we're going to have to make adjustments. So P3 Club, we're working on getting in contact with the school counselors and saying, do we do this via Zoom? Do we do this via Google Classroom? We still need to do P3 Club. We just need to adjust it a little bit, and we'll make it fun and exciting for the kids so that they'll want to log on, they'll want to be a part of it. So we're still planning. We're planning for Red Ribbon Week, which was what you were a part of and what you were going to be a part of again this year. But COVID has kind of slowed those things down. And just like with everything else, when you hit that wall, you just have to realize it's only so high. I can get over this. So we're looking at different things for Red Ribbon Week as well. There's lots of planning taking place. We have all the way through August planned already. It's already planned out, and we've already done some things in the community now during all this. Next Wednesday, we've got Drug Awareness Day at our community pool. The pool is open to so many people at a time, and then it has to go through a cleaning process. And those people leave. It goes through the cleaning process. More people can come in, but what we do while they're there is we teach the kids about illicit drugs. We teach them about the dangers of tobacco, vaping, alcohol, prescription medications, abusing prescription medications, locking up medications, not sharing medications, disposing. We teach them all of that in these moments. So we still, even with all of this happening, we still have a lot going on and a lot of planning happening, because we're expecting the rain to come, and we're not just sitting here hoping that someday in the future it might, and we're not going to prepare for it. We need to sow seeds now, and so that's what we're doing.
I seriously love that. And when you're talking about pivoting and making changes and doing virtual stuff if you need to, I can't help but think, tell me if I'm wrong, but you've told your story and you've clearly done certain things, got punched in the face, had to completely change. Sears happened, you lose that job, you start your own business, that didn't work out. And it just seems like, to me, those failures, if you want to call them that, happen for a reason, and you're learning and growing. And now it's like, oh, COVID happened. Well, I'm not going to lay down and quit. You know what adversity's like, and you can pivot and make a change. Do you think those past setbacks have helped you deal with the current situation?
100%. If you don't learn from your mistakes, then I don't know how you can adjust in the future. I don't know how you mature. That's a part of maturity is learning from your mistakes. And my dad always said it's only failure if you don't learn from them. It's not failure if you learn from them. And so then it becomes, if you're learning from them, it becomes an educational opportunity. So one of the things, Matt, is we've learned from all of that. And I remember living in this house with 4 kids. We had no electricity, no water, no way to flush the toilet. And you're thinking, what do we take from this? What do we learn from this? And so we were talking earlier, a lot of those tools of no waste come into play now as a farmer. You reduce your waste as a farmer. So learning through all of those has really put us in this position we want to start a business in the next year to 2 years. But what we've learned from all of this in the past is we have to have a plan, and it has to be a detailed plan. And so and just that lesson in general, you can take anything else. If you want to set a goal, you need a plan. If you want to create an event, you need a plan. And so planning is so important. Planning is so important that without it, you're just lost. You're just like floating out in the ocean and hoping a boat comes by, and that's like when I started that business way back in the day. It was like, I'm out here in this ocean and I just hope a customer comes by. You don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So planning is super important. That's the biggest takeaway that I've had from every adversity. But adversity makes you stronger. You have 2 options with adversity. You can stay stuck in it. You can stay there, or you can say, this isn't as bad as the last thing, or this is going to teach me something else, or I've already been through something just as tough. And so as you go in, if you ever wonder, like, how do people find peace in their life? Someone who's been through a ton of adversity, who's faced with it, can look at it and go, that's not that bad. I've been through worse. And so, and even if it's not worse, you still know that you've been through some pretty bad stuff and you can get through this too. So
I think that's great. And I mean, you mentioned that you have 4 kids, and I just hope that when they hear you speak about failure and stuff like that, it encourages them that, hey, if they screw up 38 times, get up the 39th time and try something else. But I think you've proven that through your life, and it's inspiring, my friend. I love hearing the story. And I also need to mention, I think it's Warren Buffett has a quote that says, I'll take an idiot with a plan over a smart person without a plan, something like that. And you reminded me of that. If you're a smart person with a plan, now you really got something.
Yeah. That's why it's so important in sales to fact find, because if you fact find, you can make a plan to sell your customer. What are you looking for? Why do you like that product? What problem are you trying to solve with that product? When you can figure that out, you can put them on the product that they might not necessarily know that they need. And so planning is the most important thing. That now I will tell you this, when it comes to home life, the wife is the planner. I'm like, let's go. And she's like, hang on a second. Everybody calm down.
Well, you know what?
We got to make a plan.
I got to go there because I said it in the bio, which is you're working at the Anti-Drug Coalition. You are a pastor at Lakeview Baptist Church. You're a husband and you're a father of 4 kids, amazing kids. And you live and you basically are running a farm. How, either you can tell us a story about all that, or in my head, it's like, okay, I have a wife right now and that's it, and a job, and that's all I need to worry about. You have so many moving parts going on. How do you balance it? And are you just somebody that needs to have all these different things going on to help keep you going and energized?
It's a mixture of things. It's routine. It's calendars. I have 3 people in my life that I have told I need reminders. And so please remind me. And you can never remind me enough. So that's my wife. That's Gina at the coalition, and that's Ashley at the coalition. And when you know your weaknesses, they become your strengths, because I know my weakness is I don't tend to write things down. And so if I don't put it on the calendar, I need somebody to remind me from their calendar. I need that. And I'm not making an excuse. I'm guilty. I didn't write it down. It's my fault. It's my problem. But if you can back me up on this, and that's really what friendship and a symmetrical working environment looks like, is you help other people's weaknesses. So whatever they're weak at, you help them with that. And so Gina and Ashley and my wife all help me with, this is where you have to be, this is what you have to do, this, they help me with that. And then, so there's routine, there's calendar, and then there's the three people, and I need to be busy. I need to be busy, because if I'm not busy, I get lost. I get lost in my own head if I'm not busy. And so in my own head, Matt, can be discouraging. It can be, it can really bring me down sometimes to, oh, well, I'm not busy. So, I guess I didn't do something right, or I guess, not as many people need me as I thought needed me.
Yeah.
And that's not even why I do any of it. I just do it to help. I just do it to make a difference. I don't do it. The other day we were talking about a program that we could do at church, and somebody said, well, what happens if you leave the church, or what happens if you're not pastor there anymore? You're not gonna have any oversight over that, and 10 years down the road, no one's gonna know that you were even a part of it. And the answer was, I don't care. That's not what it's for the now. Like, let's do. Why are we holding off because you're worried about my I don't know, my reputation or something? I'm not concerned. I just wanted to do these things to help. And so, but going back to your original question, it's a mixture of things. I've got to be busy. It's routine. With the animals, they've got to be on a routine. With the kids, they've got to be on a routine. And I will tell you, COVID has destroyed that routine with them, but that's okay. We adjust.
Do you, I hope, just because I know, and you're so humble, but I know how much you're doing down there for the county, for your family, etc. Can you, in your busyness, take 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there, stand back and just go, wow, this is, not pat yourself on the back, but kind of pat yourself on the back and say, I'm so happy that I'm able to be a part of this and lead whatever the situation may be?
When I look at, and not necessarily like taking a step back and looking at, even being in an assembly, because when you're in an assembly, you're in the moment, everything's happening around you. And so you don't get that chance to step back. But what I do, Matt, is I look at where I'm at now compared to where I was at 5 years ago. And it's so different. It's so astronomically different that when I do get into my own head and get into my own thoughts, that's how you get out of it, is you go, wait a second, 5 years ago, man, you didn't know anybody. Nobody knew you. You were just some guy working a job. And now you know county commissioners, you've met the governor of Tennessee, you've met the mayor of Knoxville, who, by the way, was a professional wrestler named Kane.
Oh, that's Kane. I know Kane. I mean, I don't know him, but I know of him.
Yeah. Yeah. So met him, met authors. I mean, you get to meet all these people and know all these people. And even here, Matt, thinking 5 years ago, would I be doing an interview about inspiration and all that? Never would have thought it. But when I look back at it, when I can look back at 5 years ago and say, wow, it's a different life. It's a completely different life. It's crazy. I'll tell you, one of the things the coalition that the coalition did for me and my family was we had as a family with kids, we had never bought our own Thanksgiving dinner. It was always a church that provided it to us. The second year at the coalition, through networking and through hustling and through all this other stuff, we were able to buy our very first Thanksgiving dinner as a family. And when you can look at that and look back and say, all that was to get to here, it was worth it. It was worth it.
That's special. I didn't know that story at all. That's a really special story. And I like how you, with I guess you call it gratitude, looking back on 5 years and thinking where you were. And also you could probably do the opposite, which is look ahead 5 years and say, who do I want to become over the next 5 years? And then figure out what steps you need to take. Like you alluded to before, where do you want to be next year? Then make a plan and then attack. I mean, that's a simple formula that clearly is working.
Yeah. And even with the farm, Matt, like we got all these animals and then we had to go, okay, hang on a sec. Wait a sec. We had the plans for the chickens. Like we knew what we wanted to do with the chickens, and that was eggs. Nobody worry. We're not going to be cooking any chickens. That was just eggs. And, but we didn't have a plan for everything else. We didn't have a plan for the sheep. We didn't have a plan for the goat. We didn't have a plan for the pig. We didn't have any plans for any of that. And so we had to go, okay, hang on a second. Let's take a step back. Let's look at the value and let's look at the possibilities of what these animals can do. And then let's make a plan from there. Because what they can provide us, and we're not a kill farm. We're not raising anything for food or any, it's, except for the eggs.
Yeah.
But even with the rabbits, it was like, okay, hang on a second, their poop is valuable, right? So
tell the story.
Yeah, so
rabbits
are they are a cold manure, and you can take that manure and put it right into your garden. You can put it into your compost pile if you want to, and it'll help break down the dirt and break down the soil and provide it nutrients. And people pay for that manure. They want that cold, and I say all the time, it's better than Miracle-Gro, because you can take it. I can go out to the rabbit cage, take it, throw it into the garden right now, and throw some water on it so it soaks down into the soil, and you'll see by tomorrow these plants that are like, oh my gosh, I love you. So it's great. But you wouldn't think when you get rabbits, you wouldn't think, oh, I'll take the poop and harvest the poop. You don't think that.
I bet nobody listening or watching this knew that. And if you did, send me a message, because I'd love to hear whoever that is. That's pretty impressive.
Kudos to you. And if you don't know it, I bet you Google it right after you watch.
As soon as you told me, was it last week? The first thing I did, I was Googling it. You know what? And I have to come up with a name for each of these interviews. This one may be like Nate, Ray, Rabbit Poop. Maybe that'll be that'll be what brings everybody in. Oh, I gotta hear about that. Rabbit Poop.
A hair too much poop. How about that?
There's no way you just came up with that. You're doing material.
I've learned. I've learned about marketing in my life, man. I've learned through all the failures.
That's a good one. Yeah. That is through all the failures. That's right. They've all come to this.
It's all come. What is it? A hair. What did I just say?
I don't know. I gotta play it back. Yeah, a hair too
much poop. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's no better way to end the interview than that right there.
No, not at all.
So here's what we got to do. I'm respecting your time. We're gonna get out of here in a second. At the end of the interview, here's what I do. I ask what I call the Power Five. So these are 5 quick questions. If you can answer in like a sentence or two, that'd be awesome, because I know it's not easy to do that. So I'm gonna throw these at you, and we'll see what you say. How does Nate want to be remembered?
As the helper.
Oh, that's good. That might be the most concise answer. That's beautiful. That's all you need to say. I think you already knew that. It's like that's your down purpose.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know. I see that quote by, I think it's Mr. Rogers, who said, in the time of crisis, my mom would always say, look for the helpers, look for the helpers. It's exhausting to be a helper. It is. But there's nothing better. There's nothing better for someone to call you and say, I need help. Can you help me? And for you to either be that resource or be that direct source of help. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's well said. And I agree, from knowing you for over a year now, you are a helper for sure. And also, Mr. Rogers is from Pittsburgh. So thank you for tipping your cap to our amazing city up here.
Oh, man. I thought I liked everything about that guy.
Yes, you walked into that one. I'm so glad you said that. All right. What are you most thankful for? It could be anything. It could be something in as a pastor, with your family, business, whatever. Most thankful for?
My mom. Yeah, and my dad always rolls his eyes when I say that, but my mom raised us. My dad was in the military and was got great dad. You want a dad that'll do anything for you. It's my dad. But my mom raised us to be giving. My mom raised us to be servant minded, and to this day, she, someone will come and mow her yard, and she always told us, if you're going to give something to somebody, go to your cupboard and find what you like the best. What's your favorite thing in your cupboard, and give it away. And she still does that to this. She loves Hostess cupcakes, but whenever somebody comes and works for her, she'll take those cupcakes and give them away, because she knows that maybe they might not get them on a regular basis. Or it's just the fact that that's her favorite thing. And if she can give away her favorite thing, then that means material things don't mean anything to her. And so I would say it's my mom. Yeah.
That's a great story with what do you like the most and give it away. That is powerful. That's a good one. You have me thinking of, I gotta start thinking of stuff. Of course, I don't know if anyone wants like our organic vegan pasta, but I could give it a shot. I could definitely give it a shot. All right. It's my favorite question. This is always my favorite question. If I see Nate Wray at a wedding reception and he's dancing, what is his go-to dance move?
It would be the Running Man. It would be the Running Man.
Yes.
Yep.
I bet you rock the Running Man. I bet you rock the Running Man pretty good.
I used to rock it before I had back surgery. I mean, that's one thing I didn't even say.
We didn't get into
back in the day, I had a back injury, ended up in a wheelchair. And so you see as like life, you think, oh, life's trying to put me down. Heck no, man. You still got wheels to roll around in. You can keep going. But anyway, so the Running Man is my go-to move, and I can even reverse it around to face the other way. I'll show you. I'll show you next time you're here. I'll show you.
Wonder if we can like
dance off.
Yeah, or did we have a dance off?
Yes.
We could both videotape ourselves doing the Running Man and send it out there in social media land. See who does it better.
Who wore it best?
Who wore it best? Well, this next question you kind of already answered, but I mean, if you have a different answer, what's the biggest setback you overcame? And you just threw in another one that we didn't even get into, but what's the biggest setback you had to overcome?
Myself.
Ooh.
Yeah, myself. Again, going all those years of not believing in myself, that's a huge setback. Mm-hmm. Of looking at things and going, I can't do that, and turning that into, I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to give everything I have to learn, and I'm definitely going to try.
Yeah.
But the biggest setback was myself, and there are times, and I've told this in P3 clubs. There are times that I've got to get out of this mindset in my adult life to go, man, Nate, that was stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah. Maybe you did mess up. Maybe you didn't do it the right first time. Doesn't mean it was stupid. Just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean you're stupid. But trying to do it means you're smarter than the guy who's not even trying. So,
okay.
So yeah.
Yeah,
myself.
I think, I mean, there's so much in there, but I think that's so good because you're not blaming other people. You're putting it on yourself. And if
Yeah,
you're blaming other people, then they have all the power. If you're blaming yourself, you have full power to change the whole thing. So I think that's huge.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad you
That's
overcame
right.
yourself.
Yeah, there's a difference in he won't let me get up and speak compared to I'm going to find a way to get up and speak.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
huge
I love
difference.
that. Oh, that's so good. Okay, last one. Who
All right.
is your hero?
Oh man, Matt,
Could be
that's a
somebody.
tough one.
It could be. I mean, it could be somebody you know very well. Could be somebody you just look up to. Could be somebody random.
I I would have to say uh, my grandpa.
Mm.
And this will, everybody in my family be like, what? Why would I didn't really know my grandpa on my mom's side. We like I said, my dad was in the military, and so we never really lived around them. But what I know about my grandpa is that he was a newspaper article had come out about him maybe in his 70s, early 70s, and it said Sylvester Guerrero, the godfather to the migrant workers. So my grandfather was a migrant worker when he came to America and worked his way up into working in a plant and getting off of the farm and having a nice house for his family. And so he worked really hard to get there. And he never said this isn't fair. He never said this isn't right. He just said, if I want out of this, I've got to work out of this. And that's what he did. And he instilled that work ethic in his kids. They've instilled it in us. And I think that's why my story is the way that it is, because if I wanted a way out of it, I had to work my way out of it. But one of the things, we lived in Minnesota for a year with him while my dad was in Iceland and had baseball practice. And he said, I'll pick you up from baseball practice, and I was like, great, grandpa's going to pick me up. All the other kids left, no grandpa. So I walk home and I'm mad as can be, right? I'm getting more mad on the way home. I'm getting more upset, and I'm like, I'm going to tell grandpa off. And I walk in and I said, Grandpa, you forgot me at practice. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, did everybody else get a ride home? And I go, yeah, everybody else got a ride home. And he goes, well, now you've worked harder than them.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I wanted to be mad at that for so long. And I was like, you jerk, but as an adult, what that lesson taught me and what my grandfather's life has taught me is that if you want to outwork and outperform everybody else, then you have to be willing to put in the most. You have to be there when everybody else is gone. You have to walk home when everybody else is driving. I mean, that's if that's what your goal is, you want to outperform everybody, then you need to be the first one there and the last one to leave.
oh, that's so good.
Yep.
That was a perfect story to end this thing on. I can't tell you how much I appreciate
Yes.
you being on. Yeah,
Yes.
you did it. You can go relax now. You're done. You're off the hot seat.
All right.
No, you're not off yet. Last thing.
Okay.
If somebody's listening to this, they want to connect, they want to see what you're doing down there in Roane County, what do they do? How do they find you? Social media? What's the best way?
Yeah, Facebook, Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition, Instagram at RCADC1. And we have a Twitter, but we don't use it. And that's because I don't know how to tweet. So,
well, we'll get it on Instagram. We'll link that. I'll link that up in the show notes and everything so people can check it out, because you're doing amazing things in that county. And I can't wait to see what happens next year, 5 years, 10 years, because it's just awesome. And I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you and your friendship. And I'm so thankful that through every adversity, this friendship was born out of that and molded out of that. And so I'm even thankful for that, but I'm thankful for you and the work that you do. I hope that you share your Photoshop of being, you are the true Iron Man. You are, I mean,
Oh yeah.
you're in good physical health. You're in good physical shape. You are the true Iron Man, but there may be a Photoshop of you out there as the actual Iron Man. So, but anyways, what you do is inspiring, Matt. The life that you live, the story that you tell, your energy, that inspires the heck out of me. But also, you know, I don't know your wife well. I know a little bit of her story, but man, you two fit together like peas and carrots, just like Jenny and Forrest. You guys do so well together, and when you can have a marriage like that, that's inspirational and molded so well together, that inspires other marriages. So you guys are doing a great thing.
Well, I appreciate that. That is nice of you to say. She definitely wants to meet you because I talk about you often. You're the rabbit poop guy, and she wants to meet you.
Yes.
And just for anybody on YouTube, there you go. There's the there's what Nate sent me. I'm Iron Man now. I have to post that on social media. You crack me up, and I love. Honestly, one of my favorite things about you is all the great stuff that you're doing, and I know it's serious work. You can still smile and have fun, because if you weren't, I'm sure it would just be overwhelming. So thank you for being you. Thanks for being on, and I'm sure we will chat very soon, my good friend Nate.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks, bye.